So, hey everyone, to the people watching me later, I'm probably just going to do this for about an hour, so a nice short one for you. I haven't actually told anyone I'm live streaming today. I don't know if that's going to be a problem, because I normally give a little warning saying I'm going to do it later, but we'll see what happens. I'm just going to put the link on Twitter, and that's about it, and then we'll see where we're going to go from here. But yeah, I've got a bit of work to do after this, so I'm not going to do this for too long. Hello, 444777. Thanks for joining. Hi, Eli. You're a new person, Eli, or are you someone who's been before? Change your name. I don't recognize you, but yeah, thank you for joining. There we go. Just paste this on my Twitter. But yes, as you guys would have seen, Twitter, the Antifa stuff at the weekend. And yeah, obviously the massive overreaction by the right wing. Come join. Live sharing right now. Come join. Okay, there we go. Yeah, so. Oh, okay, Eli. Thanks for watching my videos. Yeah, just saying. Always, usually recognize the people coming to the stream, so I recognize when someone's new. But yeah, I appreciate it. Okay. Sorted out my chat. There we go, live chat. Sort out my headphones. But yeah, Stan Tifa. Yeah, exactly. Well, basically, what I was thinking is that they're so hysterical about a group who have not killed anyone. My channel is so overrated. Why is my channel so overrated? I don't think it's even rated. You don't hear anyone talking about my channel, do you? It's not like I'm a massive YouTuber. Kennedy is fine. Overrated. I don't think I'm known enough. No one's been like, Kevin Ackle is so underrated. Oh, you mean underrated? Oh, okay, thanks, man. I wouldn't be offended if you're saying overrated. I just don't think it would make any sense because I don't know how I am. I'm not even rated in the first place. Um, so Gonzo say less than 1% of Americans, country of over 350 million, and only conservatives care about them. Yeah, but do you think it's conservatives hate like people on the left like properly standing up for themselves like with violence? Is that like an element to it? Because like it's so strange how you have like or literally white nationalist terror is the biggest killer of America in terms of terrorism. Um, and they're not hysterical about that. They're just taking the steps to classify all this stuff as domestic terrorism, which they haven't been doing, which is crazy. But Trump talking about Antifa, going locking them up and putting, declaring them a terrorist organization. And you know what's going to happen if they declare Antifa a terrorist organization? Going to start locking up anyone who opposes Trump. That is literally, I'm sure a lot of you are aware of what the Reichstag fire is. It's when Hitler, people speculate Hitler or someone on his orders started a fire that burnt down the Reichstag in Germany, but he blamed it on some young Dutch socialists, and then they started locking up socialists and stuff. So, that's something to be aware of. So I'm just getting some comments. Yeah, underrated. Yeah, no problem. Evan saying my Antifa pin arrived today. Buongiorno, hey, thanks for joining. That's good. Where did you get it from? And what color is it? Just like black with the flag. They want to believe the left are a bunch of pussies. Yeah, that's what I think as well. Violence is never the answer. Tell that to, I don't know, the Allies in World War Two, Che Guevara, Ho Chi Minh, lots of people use violence. Uh, yeah, the people who are, well, not necessarily. So, young Bruce saying the people who are against Antifa would have voted for the Confederates. I think a lot of people who are against Antifa are centrists and liberals as well, who are like, oh, we don't like violence, we don't like standing up against fascists, like an inherently, violent ideology. The Nazis wouldn't stop without violence. Yeah, exactly, BS. Evan, it's a tool in a box, and okay, and unfortunately, is something that has to be used to overthrow the state. Well, you see non-violent movements like the civil rights movement or the Indian independence movement. like it can work to a certain extent. Uh, I'd say maybe the Indian independence movement was probably the best example of it working, but it didn't exactly give Gandhi what he wanted since the country got split into three different zones, two countries, and then eventually Bangladesh became independent as well, East Pakistan. So it can work. Like Gandhi's obviously the pioneer of the modern movement for non-violent civil disobedience, and that's what a lot of the civil rights movement took off him. But how far does that work sometimes? And can something like that work against fascism? Because Gandhi was using it against imperialism and racism. Same with the civil rights movement. Can it work against fascism? Is the problem. Gonzo saying conservatives look for any group to project or deflect their own bullshit. Hence, Antifa should be a domestic terror group when it's white supremacy. Yeah, exactly. Who have Antifa killed? Think of all the people who are linked to Trump, not linked to Trump, but like are supporters of Trump and are inspired by Trump who've killed people. So much more. So Eli's saying media doesn't care when Owen Jones gets kicked in the head by right wingers on Friday. They freak out when Nazis get attacked. Yeah, that Andy, what's his name? The Vietnamese, far right journalist. It's hysterical. Everyone's hysterical when he gets a milkshake on him and gets punched a couple times. Owen Jones gets beaten the shit out of, and like no one cares. It's so ridiculous. So Evan's saying just a black and red anti-fascist action. I have an old commie camo jacket that I've stitched for Ari's patch and a bunch of socialist pins. Nice. Whereabout do you live, Evan? Because it depending on where you live. But I know you're young though, so it might not be a big thing. No one would really care when you're young. Chol, you just like saying, yeah, the IRA was a terrorist organization. Well done. But here's the thing about the IRA. Two things. Original IRA actually achieved what they wanted to the most extent. They got an independent Irish state. The successor organizations to the IRA did eventually get what they want in terms of they put enough political pressure on Great Britain to give them the Good Friday Agreement, which is recognizing the Irish peoples in North and South can form a union through political means if they want to. That wasn't a scenario before 1997. And achieve is not, I don't know the reason why achieve because so many people died, but that is a result of Irish people fighting for their independence, and even though it's a lot of blood, it worked. And then that's how a lot of things happen. Like America, does anyone ever talk about all the civilians who died in the American Revolution? Do you know what I mean? No one ever talks about that. Because when you detach yourself, when it gets so into memory, you forget about that. And the same thing will happen with the IRA one day. It'll be like about the Irish nation. They won't talk about the civilians dying anymore. And that's just what happens with history. You forget all of that stuff. And, it's not nice, but, now we're in a more, woke state. We take civilian casualties into more consideration. Does anyone ever talk about the civilian casualties in World War Two? Do we talk about how the Allies killed more people, or how the British killed more Germans than I think just through bombing Dresden, they nearly killed more Germans than Japanese died from the nuclear bombs. We don't talk about that. They literally targeted women and children. It was most women and children. Over 100,000 women and children in Dresden died. We never talk about that. But when it comes to the IRA, it's like, oh, the IRA killed civilians. We don't actually talk about the British killing civilians in Ireland either. So it's kind of interesting, Chol. I know Chol, you just like throwing some shit out there sometimes, though. Young Bruce saying American centrists are everywhere else is right wingers. Yeah, it's something I talk about a lot. The Democrats, when people say the Democrats are leftist, come on, give me a break. BS saying nobody that isn't ignorant knows Antifa isn't a terrorist organization. Well, they're not even like a proper organization, are they? It's like a loose coalition of various different Antifa groups, but it's not all like one uniting ideology. They're arguing in bad faith, yeah, sure, but they're also idiots as well. Yeah, Kennedy, go back to your gated community and relax, Hollywood liberal. It's normally the celebrities tweeting this crap as well. So Evan's saying, absolutely look at the French Commune violence failed then. A good video to watch was Magneto, right? Oh, that's interesting. It's like the Thanos stuff. Apart from Magneto has more of a point, I guess. Andy, how do you say it? Andy, do we say no or do we say we don't pronounce the N in Vietnamese? Yeah, again, he said some racist stuff about black people, but that was when he was like in his late 20s when he lived in South Africa. Basically, he said, basically, the Africans were like simple and they weren't worthy of equal rights like the Indians were because he used to have a massive Indian population working in South Africa. So Gandhi was a lawyer there, so he argued Indians should get equal rights, Africans shouldn't. But he obviously changed his mind. He's so different from when he started to when he ended. It's like a different person essentially. This was like Gandhi who like dressed in a suit, had like hair. It wasn't bald and wasn't an old man either. The producer of the Ellen Show was whining about Antifa on Twitter. Just whine about white supremacists. Don't worry about Antifa. Yeah, Kennedy, that's a really good point, actually. The Dayton shooter was apparently supportive of Antifa, but he also had a fucking rape and kill list. Yeah, exactly. If you say you're in to support Antifa, but your beliefs are like the antithesis of anti-fascism, how does that make you a proper supporter? It's so stupid. Yeah, Antifa acts of violence at worst beat up people, white supremacists kill people, recently inspired by the president's rhetoric. So, bad practices think about doing an ep at the IRA with a more knowledgeable guest, of course. Kennedy, I would say I'd be happy to go on it, but I'm not. I wouldn't say. Obviously, I'm an Irish person, Anglo-Irish, and I got family in the IRA. But it depends what perspective you want in it, because I'm not like I wouldn't say I'm an expert on the IRA and Irish history, like a proper expert. Is the main problem. Gabby saying, thanks for talking about this today. All Americans should be anti-fascist. Exactly. If you're not anti-fascist, what are you? Are you pro-fascist? Are you like apathetic to fascism? I don't know. Yeah, BS saying the American Revolution is told completely from the perspective of aristocrats. Was literally fought for the aristocracy, isn't it? London, but I don't go out that often. Yeah, I knew you from England, Evan. I was just wondering, like, no one. Yeah, you'll be fine, Evan. Jeremy Corbyn's from Islington, so like this video. You mean like this live stream? Thanks, Lawrence, if you did. BSN, I think that in your Windows Studios put it best. Every time a movement has tried to share power with a disadvantaged, conservatives have rallied to try and stop it. That's just the way they are. Well, conservatism is all about protecting, the status quo. Also, I got a question. I was thinking the other day, are there any conservative, like, heroes of, like, change and stuff? Because I was thinking, like, we always look back at, like, the anti-war movement, civil rights movement, things like that, and like, all the gay movement, and we're like, these guys were all heroes, and they're all pretty much leftists and liberals. Is there anyone who's conservative who's like that? I know by definition, it's kind of hard to be a conservative who, pushes society into the future and stuff. But can anyone think of any example? Is it okay to say that conservatives never do this? Because but logically you'd say they don't. But is there any examples to the contrary that some conservatives have pushed forward, I guess, humans and stuff? The IRA will be resurrected if a no-deal Brexit occurs. It could be something like that. It could be hard. A good camera look of his nose hairs. You can't see my nose. I don't really have nose hair, but my camera's not good enough. It's because I'm looking at my chat, which is over there, and the camera's here. I can change it though. One sec. But yeah, I don't know. Conservatives are never like the ones on social change. I know you get people in the middle sometimes, like Abraham Lincoln, obviously, freed the slaves. Not that he was like super pro equality for black people, but he's not like a bad guy or anything. All right, let's get the chat up here then. But yeah, I would be interested if anyone can think of some good examples. Not centrist, proper right wingers. Has any of them been good? Sorry, one sec. Let me fix this. Live chat. John McCain. How so, John McCain? I want to hear this one. John McCain, the warmonger. Who's this Irving guy we're talking about? Hi, Michael. Thanks for joining. So 3 hours of the video on it, a group of historians went into it and said way under 100,000 people. Dresden was one of the main cities that supported the Eastern Front. So what are you saying? The numbers are inflated. I swear it's like over 100,000 people. What these people are saying, it's not true. Yeah, Kennedy, I'd be happy to. I just don't know if you can find someone better for this particular topic. It depends. Like, I don't want to say something that will get me in like trouble in the future. Like, oh, Conor Kavanagh is celebrating IRA killing civilians, but in a historical sort of, perspective, centrism is Thatcherism with diversity quotas. But I made that video like 5 months ago. It was basically saying you can't be socially liberal and fiscally conservative. It doesn't make any sense because if you're fiscally conservative, you don't support the policies that would make you socially liberal. So it doesn't actually make any sense. Yeah, exactly. Milk Grove. They always say stuff like that. Yeah, I control my fate. I think you wouldn't call him a conservative by the time is the main thing, isn't it? Are you okay with showing up to a right-wing pundit's home like they did to Tucker Carlson? I find it wrong, but I don't feel sorry for Tucker. Yeah, that's a hard one. It's not something I'd personally do, but if you're spreading dangerous ideologies, but I don't know because we don't live in like an objective world where people should be able to point to someone like Tucker Carlson and say stuff like this guy's dangerous, because they'll flip it back around on you, be like, okay, we'll go to, left wing people will show up to Tucker Carlson's home, the right wing, let's go show up to, I don't know, say I got more famous, let's go show up to his home, because it's like the same. Do you know what I mean? Like that, we don't live in the world where we can all go together. Look, Tucker Carlson's language inspired like mass shootings. This is a bad guy. Let's go protest at his house. Olivia. Oh, hi, Olivia. Thanks for joining. Hi. Is it May? Is that how you say it? May. Elon Musk claims he's fiscally conservative. Doesn't make any sense. You can't be social. Saying like, oh, I don't have a problem with gay people, but I support like I don't know. Here's a better example. I don't have a problem with transgender people, but I won't support funding gender reassignment surgery. Things like that. Or like, I support your right to it's okay. Good to know. There's some new people in the chat today, which is good. Things like that. Like, I support, your right to I even like right to live and stuff like that, but I won't support funding healthcare for everyone. I don't know. I find it weird. If you live in Scotland, SNP versus Labour, I want Scotland to be independent because if I was in their position, I'd want to be free of the Conservatives forever. And SNP are pretty good in terms of being liberal, so or leftist, whatever. And I like Nicola Sturgeon, so yeah, I'd vote SNP. Oh, Olivia lives in Portland. Were you near anything to do with the protests? Okay, Evan, that's good. Look it up and let me know about Dresden. But still, even if Dresden is lower, you can't deny that the Allies obviously, like that's just the nature of the war was. The Allies obviously killed like millions of German civilians and Italian civilians. Like it just happened. That's just what the war was like. And obviously millions of Japanese civilians even before the nuclear weapons. The fire bombings of Tokyo, places like that. So the inflated numbers from Slaughterhouse 5. Why is it called Slaughterhouse 5? What's it about? You're smoking weed with your brother. Chav family. Not that word means anything to you, but so Matt's saying John McCain was a decorated veteran. I don't think that makes him good when the war you were serving in was the Vietnam War, and your dad was literally like one of the main like admirals in the war. I don't think that's a good thing, to be honest. Like you voluntarily signed up to fight for American imperialism, and you bombed loads of civilians. Because what was John McCain doing in his plane? I doubt it was recon. It's probably killing civilians in Vietnam. That's just the way the war was fought. I wouldn't put that on him. And being far more accepting of than his colleagues, I think what you're getting at, Matt, he's not a hero or anything. You know, being pro-war and everything, he saved the destruction of the ACA. The Affordable Care Act is basically conservatives' idea of healthcare anyway. Him saving that is not a big deal. I don't think that makes him a hero in any regard. And him being more accepted in LGBT rights, it's not really a high bar when you're dealing with a bunch of far-right Christian fanatics. Dutch people died as well. Yeah, lots of, well, you know. Yeah, Michael, that's true. So Olivia's saying, I live right by there, but I didn't go. They just come here to pick a fight with Rose City Antifa and get on the national news. So they all come from out of town, basically. FBI said, FBI said Black Lives Matter as a, don't they have Black Lives Matter as a higher threat than white nationalists and stuff? Mental. Now, Kennedy, it'd be too hard to explain to you. It's not offensive, but it means something. Yeah, but Matt, I think one honourable thing you do in your life doesn't make up for a lifetime of shittiness. And the fact that he was in prison during that war and tortured, but was still pro-torture and still voted for more war and wanted even more war shows how much of a scumbag he really was and how much he pretty much was just like his dad. So Libertarian Socialist saying, in my experience, people who associate Antifa with violence also ask what's wrong with white pride. Yeah, exactly. It's these type of people, isn't it? What's wrong with straight pride? What's the death toll from the anti-fascists versus the fascists? That's what's wrong with white pride. Here's the thing people need to take into a bit of historical context. You have places like Spain in the 1930s, right? You have the anti-fascists from around the world coming to stand up to the fascists. And you want to see what happens when you don't back the anti-fascists, the people who are willing to die for you, even the people who don't support them. And then what you get instead is a brutal, Christian dictator who's in line with like Mussolini and Hitler. Do you know what I mean? That's what you're going to get if you don't help these people. There comes like times and you have to pick a side, really. And more people should have, well, okay, the Spanish Civil War was a hard one because could you even compete like the anti-fascists, like made up of various different countries, peoples, against basically, Nazi-funded dictatorship in terms of Franco, Luftwaffe coming over to Spain and actually helping out, Franco. But, at the same time, shows you what can happen. Yeah, bomb them around, yeah, fuck McCain. Yeah, John McCain's daughter is a reason enough. Yeah, Matt, is that a good thing, though? I'm talking about people like Harvey Milk or like Martin Luther King and Bernie Sanders. I'm not talking about maybe you started supporting gay marriage in like 2014. Do you know what I mean? That's not worthy of praise in my opinion. I'm talking about the people who pushed against society at the time. Has there ever been someone who's conservative and actually pushed for something for equality for everyone or something like that? That's what my question really is. Someone like John McCain sort of being a tiny bit better than a bunch of, far right people in the Republican Party isn't really a great thing in my opinion. Hi Pax Abol, thanks for joining us. Another new one, I think. Couple new people. Eli saying Apple is the perfect example of centrism. The CEO is gay, so it's socially liberal, but at the same time, they buy their materials from minds of child workers and the same. Yeah, I think what people get mixed up a lot of the time, it's like for example, the Conservative Party in Britain has a lot of Asians in it in terms of like Indian people and some black people as well. But selling out your communities and selling out, I wouldn't agree with Southern Irish people being being the Conservative Party or something like that, or someone who was Anglo-Irish being the Conservative Party. Because I'd be like, you literally sold out and you failed to like recognise this party's role in your oppression, and you've sold out to join part of them. And it's the same argument. Someone was arguing the other day, the Republican Party aren't the party of white supremacy because they have some Latino support, especially from like expats from places like Cuba who hate communists, and I'm like, that doesn't mean they're not white supremacists. And you can be non-white and be part of white supremacy and prop up white supremacy. I don't know what this argument is if you're not white, you can't. Loads of Irish people sold out to the British and stuff. Loads of Irish Catholics sold out to the British. Some people in my own family didn't like the IRA. I have people in my grandma's family who were in the IRA and people who helped the British and stuff. It's just like, it doesn't mean somehow because the British can't be like, oh look, the Irish people love us because there's some Irish people in us. The same way Tories can be like, we're not racist because we have a couple, we have some Indian members and Indian voters, or the Republicans like, we have Latino voters. How can we hate Latinos? It's a stupid argument, and those people either don't understand, they're too ignorant, or they've sold out their own community and class to get maybe the financial benefits of supporting this party. So I hate that stupid argument that people use all the time. It's like that Andy, whatever his name is, sorry, I keep forgetting it. He's sold out. He's Vietnamese and he's helping fascists, you know what I mean? But also, he's helping American fascists, which makes no sense because, obviously white supremacists. If he was helping like Vietnamese fascists, maybe make a bit more sense. But, they'll use someone like that to make them seem more socially acceptable, but they're never going to, when they get the power, they're not going to help you out. Okay, they antagonize the locals and claim they're the victims. Michael, but don't you think anti-fascists fighting among themselves is actually a good thing? Because the reason fascists don't, fight is because they're not actually about anything. They're normally about something more abstract like capitalism or imperialism, but they got no real ideology apart from getting power or just being powerful a lot of the time. Yeah, Reagan is fucking scumbag, so no. Abraham Lincoln was a Republican, but it was different back then anyway, wasn't it? Lots of Dixiecrats and the Democrats, wasn't it? So Sort of House 5 is a fictional book in World War II. It's more like neo-Nazi fan fiction. The chat won't let me post the wiki. I'll look it up after the chat. So altruism as a service saying, I'm off topic. Just point out that Joe Rogan interview of Bernie Sanders is over 9 million views, 332,000 likes. Oh, crazy. To 38,000 dislikes. I believe this video is a projection of the election. It is good he went on that. For someone like me who listens to Bernie a lot, it's nothing new, but like, you read some of the comments and it was a really good idea to go on. I switched to live chat. I don't know if it's helping though. Yeah, Adele, a lot of the old Democrats were, and they switched to the Republican Party when Johnson passed civil rights. They're called the Dixiecrats. So Michael saying the bombing of Dresden, bomber Harris largely to blame because he pushed very, very hard for it. Yeah, but I think it was just more, a symptom of the way the war was fought on both sides, just targeting civilians. Who's the new chancellor? Is Javid the new chancellor? Wait. Javid. Fucking cunt. Javid. Is he? Oh, he's a chancellor now. He was the Home Secretary, wasn't he? Yeah, the Asian bloke who ran for PM. He was a city boy banker who helped to crush the economy. Yeah, they have sold out a lot of these Asians, haven't they? Like, in terms of like, you can't, the amount of racist abuse Asian people have been subjected to still in this country, and you basically work for the Tory party, but it's for money, isn't it? Like, money doesn't. A lot of these rich people, it's like, Trump says he hates. Well, Trump probably does hate Muslims as he understands it, but he'll jump into bed with the Saudis. Jared Kushner, and I think the Saudi Arabia and the alliance between Israel and Saudi Arabia is probably the best example of this. Here you have a country based on one religion, Judaism, a country which is based on like one of the most fanatical interpretations of Islam, but the leaders of these countries have jumped into bed together to work to further their interest of power and money. Because at the end of the day, while they have these differences, they don't care. Like, stuff like money and greed just overrides differences, especially for the elites. Elites don't care about the differences, you know what I mean? Donald Trump is racist and he might hate all these things, but he'll jump into bed with any of these people that he hates they have money. Abraham Lincoln received letters of support from Karl Marx. That's interesting. I haven't heard that before. Um, there were black KKK members. Were there actually? The Republicans of the 1860s were further left from the Democrats today. I don't honestly know enough about the party back then. I would say in terms of their time, they probably were. So if McCain were president, the Russia-Georgia war would have turned into World War III. He wanted to join the fight against Russia on the Russian border. I do remember that war, but that is crazy that he wanted to do that. He wanted to fight for the Georgians? Young Brew, I do agree with you there. I do think Bernie and AOC, I think they should start their own party anyway, after Bernie was done. Is it really anti-fascism or anti-establishment? What bit are we talking about there? BS saying, fun fact about the KKK, it was conceived as the representation of the full and Confederate soldiers. They dressed up like literal ghosts. So it's meant to be about the death of the Confederates. That's why they were dressed up as ghosts. Do I think the recession would hit before the 2020 election? I'm honestly not an economist. I do think one's coming, but, I don't know when it's going to come. Yeah, BS, exactly. BS saying, it's been happening 32 years of his life, or her life, sorry, I don't know what you are of an M at BS, but, yeah, like, a lot of, black people said with Trump, are like, we know people like this around our whole lives. It's not surprising to us. It's surprising to white centrist liberals that this country is so racist. It's not surprising to us, which I tend to agree with. America has never solved its racism issue. It's just tricked itself into thinking it wasn't racist because it elected a black president. And a black president who basically had to sell out, well, not necessarily had to sell out his community, but he wasn't even allowed to talk about being a black president. Do you know what I mean? They made any hint of that, they turn into a scandal, the Republicans, you know what I mean? Saying, this myth or whatever bullshit is saying he was the most divisive president on race ever because he was just a black dude and you guys are so racist, that's divisive, do you know what I mean? Which Harris are we talking about? Bomber Harris, not Sam Harris. Yeah, I control my fate. There were so many laws against Asians in America, like crazy race laws against them. Not as bad as like Africans, but it did exist. Well, yes. Someone wrote on Twitter that with them changing the poem on the Statue of Liberty, it's obviously America is becoming a fascist country. Not that I guess fascism is a really strict term because I was reading some stuff about India. I actually made a video on it, but I haven't actually edited or uploaded it. I think I'll just leave it now. But I made a video about Modi, and some Indian historians were saying India right now is fascist, but it's a democracy. Like the government and the prime minister are fascists, but we still live in some sort of sham democracy. The democracy that exists is that you can vote people in and out of power, but the country isn't free. And that's why it's not like a proper democracy, and that's why it is becoming fascist. Like having the illusion of control, especially in India when you have such a fanatical party like the BJP. Also, the Prime Minister of India grew up as part of the party the guy who assassinated Gandhi was in, and he believes in basically the exact same thing that led that assassin to kill Gandhi. I think is an interesting thing people don't really talk about. I guess we don't really talk about Indian politics so in the West. Not that's why, Modi's going to Nick Jonas's wedding and going on TV with Bear Grylls. Milk Road, that is a good idea, but because I'm small, I'm just trying to make stuff worthwhile in terms of views / what I'm interested in. Because I do a lot of stuff that I'm interested in. Also, it's not something I'm super, informed about to make a video on, like the Black Death. Oh, really, Kennedy? That's super interesting. I didn't know that. Karl Marx was a New York correspondent for the Globe at the time of the Emancipation Proclamation. That's pretty cool. That was a pretty amazing time to live. Like, when you play something like Assassin's Creed Syndicate, Karl Marx is in it. It's like Charles Dickens, Charles Darwin. all these types of people. So Olivia, has that just happened? The average is 22 months from an inverted yield curve. A depression is declared. We need to have a proper definition of fascism. What do people think fascism is then? To me, what fascism is usually it's when is super nationalistic politics in terms of usually based on race, but it can be based on the idea of what a country is. So, for example, England is obviously a very diverse country. I guess in terms of the fascist interpretation of England, it's white, it's Christian, it's like pure English, and the politics demonize immigration, demonize the other. Everything's done, I guess, to prop up and support one specific group in that country. So somewhere like India, the prime minister literally believes if you are Indian and you support helping other races and other countries, you're a race traitor to Hinduism, and you can only be a real Indian if you're Hindu. And that's why they killed Gandhi, because Gandhi was trying to help Pakistan more, because he was upset anyway. He didn't want Pakistan, he wanted one India. And the guy who killed him was a member of the RSS, who were Hindu fanatics, who basically thought Gandhi was a race traitor to Hindus, because Hindus were Indians, and if you're helping Muslim Pakistan, then you obviously hate your own race. But I think it's more broad than that. There's obviously lots of stuff to do with capitalism in it, but I'm talking more in terms of the ideological underpinnings of it. So Ben saying our country is checking all the early warning signs of fascism. Yeah, lots of people have been saying it. Like Trump's, they're ignoring subpoenas from Congress, which usually get you a jail sentence, but they're just not going and nothing's happening while he's enriching himself, while he's trying to make and be an anti-fascist terrorism while basically ignoring white nationalist terror, which he often inspires. So. Yeah, young Brew, they might have calmed his attitude towards Obama. They wouldn't have calmed their attitudes towards black people, though. Milk, I think Russia sort of a Milk Road. Russia kind of exists in this in-betweeny state. It's not part of the West because of the historical connotations of East. Soviet Union is part of the East, but it's kind of like in the middle. I don't know what you'd call it. I don't think many people would call Russia the East. It's part of Europe, I guess, is what we'd say. So altruism is a service saying the inversion rate of short-term and long-term loans and interest rates, which is completely weird. Is the clear indicator recession is coming, and the prediction is historically true of 2 years. Because I'm not an economist, does every recession that hits the US, is it always a global recession? Or is there US based recessions, or because of the nature of our world at the moment, is it all just tied together and it affects everyone? So Matt saying, I think the elimination of a multi-party system would be a tenet of a fascist regime. But Matt, wouldn't you say when you have two parties who generally support the same thing, so think of the Democrats and Republicans support, like broadly, do they really believe in such different things? Foreign policy, pretty similar. Support for, unwavering support for Israel, unwavering support for the police, unwavering support for the military industrial complex, unwavering support for things like Saudi Arabia. But maybe there's a few differences, like, Democrats like diversity a bit more. I guess Republicans are more corrupt. But do you know what I mean? Like, are they really that different? Do you really have a choice? Like, in Americans, do you really think you have a choice? So Obama was the good guy, but he just made your healthcare a little bit less corporatized, despite most of the world having universal healthcare for decades. Do you know what I mean? Is that really a choice? It's like between, two really shit choices, basically. Britain wasn't a white ethno state before 1950. Why? Because race is like a societal construct. British, to say Britain was an ethno state is a bit ignorant about British history. You have many regions in England that don't associate themselves with each other. So Wales has its own identity. Cornwall has its own identity. Scotland has its own identity. You know, and Britain before before the 1950s, Ireland was a part of Britain from 1800 to 1919. Ireland's already diverse anyway in terms of their different ethnicities. You can't call them an ethno state. The thing with something like Germany or India, I guess because it's a bit more, and like Japan's a better example. Britain is not a good example. You can't compare Britain with Japan in terms of being homogenous. It's not the same. Yeah, man, I don't think I'd say the U.S. government is fascist in a traditional understanding of the word. I would say it's imperialist though, and it's controlled by a fascist party. Um, Eli saying Lib Dems will let no deal happen to make sure Corbyn isn't credited with ending Brexit without being the Remain party, the Lib Dems are nothing. Yeah, it's actually such a joke, isn't it? Like, when there's centrist Tories or centre right Tories saying they'll support a short Corbyn government and you're against it, you got to ask yourself what the hell is wrong with you. Sadly, in my region, it's either Tory or Lib Dem, but I'm never fucking voting Lib Dem again after this crap. Evan, you hate them more. Uh, I also hate the Tories more, but the Lib Dems are fucking sellouts, so. Michael, isn't Azerbaijan in the Eurovision Song Contest as well? Sarah says she considers Russia Eurasia, neither Europe or Asia, but on the Eurasian continent. Yeah, I guess in my head it's Europe, but obviously Russia's massive, isn't it? I guess the more like talked about bits are closer to Europe. Um, Wait, what are we talking about, Matt? Are you talking about Antifa in general, or are we talking about something else? So it's not anti-fascist, it's anti-establishment. The parties are just hateful Republicans who aren't hiding their love for the rich. I guess that's the difference. Republicans love the rich a lot more. Uh, yeah, but Matt, I wouldn't say Russia is a fascist state. Um, I think you can get authoritarianism and fascism confused. I think Russia is definitely authoritarian and racist. I think fascist is a bit different though. I mean, maybe you can make the argument the US is. Sorry, my HDMI cable came out of my computer. Maybe you make the argument it's more along those lines, but it can be hard sometimes. Isle of Man, Foreign Identity. Yeah, lots of different places in. Yeah, but Joel, white peoples hate each other. The Nazis believed in German supremacy. They slaughtered Slavs. Slavs were white as well. They didn't think they thought Germans were superior to other white groups. English people think they're superior, or did think they're superior to Irish people, Cornish people, Scottish people. So it's not the same. They're all white doesn't matter. I'm not saying it's racism, but like, there's no British ethno state, and there never was. If you know about the history of England, how many times it's been invaded, how diverse it is, like Irish ethnicity comes more from the Celts. It has some influence from like other outside factors like the British and Romans and Normans and things like that, but they're different. So Normans are from like Normandy, and some Normans are from Italy, and then Anglo Saxons because they're from France as well. So it's very diverse, and you have Vikings and Scandinavians in different parts of England. So over time, yeah, it wears away a lot, but a lot of the historic stuff is still there. So Evan's saying it's a joke. At least the Tories admit they're the party for the bankers and businessmen. The Lib Dems are a fucking disgrace. The party for politicians, Labour is for the people. Yeah, it's so frustrating. When I think about politics too much, I just get so depressed. I'm like, how the hell Did we end? No, okay. I know the answer, but do you know what I mean? Like, I know why we have Boris Johnson and Donald Trump, but I'm just thinking, why are we governed by the worst people? Like, well, maybe we do deserve it, but I just can't get my head around it sometimes. Like, like I'm saying, I obviously do know why. I know why they're in charge, and I know how they got there. But I'm just like, how can the world just be ruled by such idiots all the time? Idiots who go to very good schools as well. I try my fate saying if anyone tries to use Japan as excuse for an ethno state, I will break down the history of the Tokugawa shogunate. Do you mean like if someone tries to say ethno states are a good thing, or it's a good example? Yeah, I wouldn't say Japan is an ethno. Yeah, not an ethno state. It's obviously quite homogenous in terms of today in terms of the lack of diversity. So like you could say, Cho, it wouldn't be wrong to say Britain. Not it isn't, but it would not be wrong to say Britain was pretty homogenous in terms of like being white or whatever before the 1950s. It'd be wrong to say it's an ethno state because obviously it isn't racial tension in terms of how we understand it. There's not Irish and English don't have well, there's an argument to be made with the Irish stuff, but like Scottish and English people didn't have racial tension between them, but there can be a bit of ethnic tension at times, or even national tension. Um, England was not a homogeneous Anglo-Saxon country. Anglo-Saxons like isn't Anglo-Saxons before the Norman invasion as well? So Ben saying, is it Bo? Is that how you say it? Bo, the fifth column is a great video about the early warning stages of fascism. Is it similar to what we've been saying, like with Trump and stuff? Yeah, exactly. Libertarian socialists. Whiteness. It's like the Germans' understanding of whiteness. Germans made a pass for like the British and the French in a lot of ways. Didn't make a pass for the Slavs. Eli, how about change UK? That's even worse. Chances of a no deal Brexit way higher than it's ever been. Oh my god! Like British people in the chat, we need to go out and have a revolution in London. If we get no deal Brexit, oh my god, we got to do something like drastic. I can't watch this country just destroy itself without doing anything. Do you know what I mean? Like Brexit is gonna be bad enough on its own. I can't watch. You talking about like stockpiling food and stuff? Are you joking me? And why is this happening? Because greedy politicians are trying to fuck over the rest of us for themselves, for power or for profit or for both. You know, I really hope, you know, it's all well and good, a million people going to protest in London about Brexit. Why don't we do 1 million people doing civil disobedience in London? Let's do it for 3 days, see how much that hurts the people in power in terms of their wallets, basically. Why is this not? Why do we have to look at Hong Kong or France and stuff? Why can't we just do it in this country? Why are we so polite about this crap, man? We literally have a royal family sitting in London with the wealth they've made off the backs of every working family and their ancestors in this country, and historically over subjugating and killing people around the world, and we're gonna let them keep that while the politicians she meets with every week are literally destroying the country. Like I respect in some ways British civility, but at the same time, it has its place, and this country's forgotten a lot of his stuff. I think it's been great. I think the worst part of the 1990s and Blair is just sedating everyone, and like the end of history Fukuyama bullshit. Like I hate this crap. It sedated everyone thinking like this is it. Isn't it? This is great. You know, middle class. The economy's doing better. It's the end of the Soviet Union. The end of the Cold War. How great is life going to be? It's all going to be like this forever. It's going to be we're all going to be connected through globalization. Every country's going to have similar culture. We're going to have like great standards of living. capitalism going to raise us up. Like, I hate the mindset that's come from the 90s, thinking that we've moved past, obviously like the 30s or even before, how bad this country was in terms of poverty. And it feels like everyone's now just tied up or sedated with their crap, like Love Island or binge drinking. There's no political consciousness there anymore, because back in the day, you were political because it's all about you surviving was just like on a knife edge, wasn't it? It's like your wages. If you didn't get enough, you were just going to starve to death. That's why everyone was so political back then. But now, because it's different, no, most people aren't political. Do you know what I mean? They don't have political consciousness. It'd be so hard to get 1 million people in England, especially in London, to come and do civil disobedience. But like in Hong Kong, sorry, I haven't read the chat, but someone was saying in Hong Kong, they realizes this is literally like life and death. Like, they can't let China gain an inch, because it's going to fundamentally change their country. It's going to literally take away their freedom. That's why even when they've been told to like stop this stuff and like they bring harsher measures, they're still doing it, because they realize, and that's what people got to realize. No deal Brexit, that is like what it's going to be like for us. It's going to be a cliff. This country's going to jump off, and you can't go back, and it's seriously going to hurt this country. And the thing is as well, the people who support it are going to be hurt the worst, which is, people in London. No matter what the outcome of Brexit is, London is going to be better than everywhere else. London, people who generally oppose Brexit, even Tory areas of London oppose Brexit. Anyway, I just wish there was more class consciousness in countries that have such access to education and the internet and freedom of information. It's just annoying. Sorry, let's have a look at the chat. Sorry, what a bit of a rant. How much of an influence do the Moors have in Europe? Milk Road, if you care to expand a bit, I'd answer that. I do know a fair bit about it. John saying, the US has been on consistent slide to gross wealth disparity. Republican or Democrats has made zero difference. Yeah, in the sort of broader issues, they both do the same things. Oh yeah, Matt, for sure. Chinese and Koreans. Yeah, I wrote something on this on my WordPress. Basically, the Japanese never really apologized for World War II. The US jumped in there quickly to take over Japan, rewrite its constitution. The emperor didn't even have to resign, and his advisors and him successfully pinned the whole war on Tojo rather than the emperor. So it all got blamed on the military, and apparently the emperor wanted nothing to do with it, so they kept the emperor. But obviously, because also China was run by Chiang Kai-shek, so they're like, China and Japan, you guys are buddies now because you're anti-communist allies of the USA. So you guys just forgive each other. The war's over. But obviously, when the Communist Party come in, they're like, no, you literally like raped our country. We're not going to forgive you. And the Communist Party have used it to successfully whip up China to be like, we're taking back Taiwan. Taiwan. It's like, we're taking back Hong Kong, which isn't part of China because the British took it off us. We're taking back the Senkaku Islands, which Japan stole from us. And that's like the roots of that. So now that's why they hate them. But obviously the Koreans hate Japan in a way because of the comfort ladies and the occupation in Korea and stuff. It is interesting though. I do really like this sort of stuff. Also, loads of Japanese deny the rape of Nanking. They don't even write about it in their textbooks of World War II history. So, yeah, Anglo-Saxons aren't even native to England. Libertarian Socialist saying, we're living in a timeline where Macron, of all people, is the least monstrous on the UN Security Council. Oh, man. Imagine, if Le Pen gets in, but Macron is such a shithead as well. We're actually so screwed. Right-wingers use Japan to justify an ethno-statism in the US. You'd think they use Israel more. I think that's like their wet dream. Militarized ethno-state. Yeah, but Chol, okay, there is an argument to be made that the British made the white, because what race is a societal construct. There is an argument to be made that the British made the Irish a race, like a subhuman race in their opinion. Not, it wasn't just xenophobia. Yeah, Veronica saying Hong Kong, Puerto Rico style protest needed in the UK. Exactly, it's what I want. Bad. Um, the 90s were cursed. Exactly. No, I don't think Argentina's part. Argentina and Brazil and places like that, I don't think they're part of the West. Hi, Jose. Thanks for joining. Um, John asked me how is Brexit different from California leaving the Union. Yeah, John, I think that's a hard question because I don't know what would change if California left the Union. I guess you can kind of imagine it like that. Basically, end to free movement, which means at the moment I can just go to France and work and I can just travel around Europe with my passport. I'm going to drive around, fly around, pretty easy. No visa, no stamps at the airport. I go work in France for the summer if I want. Do you know what I mean? Like stuff like that. Without that, you can't do that anymore. It's like moving to another country, and depending on what immigration system we set up afterwards for Europeans, probably I think we're going to do obviously probably similar to the rest of the world, but I think they're even going to tighten that up a bit as well. There's obviously loads of different things we're members of in terms of like you can kind of think about it in a similar way to America. Like we have food is the big one. Food safety standards, human rights that we share with the EU. For example, I don't think in the UK there's any laws to protect transgender people explicitly, but the EU has laws specifically to protect transgender people. So when we leave the EU, we don't have any explicit laws to protect transgender people. There's stuff like that. Like, even though there are discrimination laws, I mean, like, in the clearest language about gender identity, I don't think there is actually anything without the EU laws on top of the UK laws. I look like I finished a 5K run. Oh, I don't look sweaty. I'm just wearing a football shirt. So Matt's saying, used to be able to count people voting on their own self-interest. Yeah, but working class people have always voted for the powerful. I don't think it's a new thing, but I do get your point actually. Like, you used to have to vote for the person who would ensure you'd survive. Do you know what I mean? Because it used to be life or death for a lot of these people. So, like I was saying too. No, Olivia, I haven't watched it yet. My brother told me to watch it. I do know about the subject matter. In the chat, who? I know Kennedy will say her mum. Who thinks their parents would be susceptible to fake news? The Cambridge Analytica stuff, the Great Hack stuff. Who thinks their parents would be able to be swayed by this stuff? I not that my mum would ever watch this. I think my dad's a good influence on my mum, but I think if my mum was like a single mum, she definitely would. And I know like a lot of my family probably would as well. Yeah, Matt, it's just on my WordPress if you just want to flick through, if you ever get bored. Tyler, he probably didn't want war with the US. He definitely wanted the war, though, with the Sino-Japanese war, which kicked it off. He probably didn't want a war with America, but he wanted the war with China. So Olivia saying they also targeted voters online in key states across multiple platforms to get them to vote the way they wanted, like the Trump campaign. Steve Bannon was Facebook is. I don't want to delete Facebook because the only thing I use it for is keeping in contact with old friends. But at the same time, it's so sketchy. That stuff is just crazy. Mark Zuckerberg should be in prison. And I assume Olivia, the documentary makes clear how complicit he is. Evan saying China's a funny one. They're kind of nationalistic about communism. No, I think that, Evan, they're just straight up nationalistic. I don't think they're actually communist because they're straight up nationalistic and they're straight up even nationalistic about being Han Chinese as well. Like they think Han Chinese is the real Chinese, like old school, kingdom of mandate of heaven, Middle Kingdom China. The world should be, the center of the world is Han Chinese, Han Chinese Empire basically. But the Communist Party whipped them up into such a frenzy that the citizens essentially demand them to take back Hong Kong and Taiwan. Like, it's not just these celebrities, although like Jackie Chan and people like that are being essentially coerced by, their livelihoods to support the Chinese government. Most of the Chinese civilians have been brainwashed to really want these things. They think like the Communist Party think things like Taiwan just show that China used to be weak, and Western countries, and Chiang Kai Shek and people who got in bed with Western countries just took land away from what was rightfully Chinese land and stuff, and they've whipped them up so much that the whole legitimacy of the Communist Party really rests on if they take back old territory. It's the same thing with Tibet and stuff. Yeah, Jose. I got you interested in Mr. Robot. Have you watched any? I can't wait. The last season is out in 2 months, I think. I love it so much. I watched it again this year, third time. I think if you wanna bread pill any family members and they like their movies and TV, seriously try and get them to watch Mr. Robot. It's such a good gateway into the stuff we're talking about, and it's actually good as well. Like you can enjoy it on a surface level, but I think it's this sort of stuff's good for getting you more informed and stuff like this, and it is like explicitly anti-Trump. Like Trump, the backdrop of the show takes place in the primaries because the whole show takes place in 2015, even though it was made in 2015, 16, 17, and now this new one's been filmed in 2019. So can you say my parents, both your parents, your dad as well? Oh no. I control my fate. My mother does read Facebook a lot. I always ask where her news is from. She tells me it came from Facebook. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'd be worried about. Chol, yeah, I think I spoke about this before, Chol. I was reading about an article about how a no-deal Brexit could bring Northern Ireland to reunite with Ireland. I won't go too much into it. Basically, most of Northern Ireland voted to stay in the EU. Republic of Ireland is part of the EU. The two parties in Northern Ireland, the DUP, they're the unionists they want to keep the union with England. They're Protestants. Second party is Sinn Féin. There's only one seat between them. When the next election comes, if Sinn Féin win, they said they're going to call a referendum, and because of the sentiment of wanting to stay in the European Union, they could legit win that, and then Ireland becomes one country, and the whole of Ireland stays in the European Union. Which, we'll see if that ever happens, but Sarah said my dad would, but he listens when I scold him. He's always falling for propaganda and conspiracy theories. Do you remember when conspiracy theories were harmless and now they're just like a gateway to being a Nazi? Do you remember it used to be like, what was the old conspiracy theories people used to believe in? Just dumb ones like, who's that singer from the early 2000s? The one who sings Skater Boy. Who am I thinking of? Basically, someone will tell me. Apparently, she died and was replaced by like a body double or something. Stuff like that. Avril Lavigne, yeah, Avril Lavigne died and was replaced by a body double. That's who I was thinking of. Yeah, child Catholics were outnumbered Protestants in Northern Ireland 2021, and that could swing the vote to Sinn Féin, so it'd be interesting. Jose saying, I killed off my Facebook for privacy, only go on Twitter. American political Twitter is probably the worst thing I've ever seen. Like when you go on when you read the comments of a conservative commentator's tweets, I literally want to blow my brains out. I'm like, how? Like, I know every country has its problems, but why are Americans so absolutely fucking stupid? Like, I'm sorry. There's something so uniquely American about these Twitter accounts. I'm just like, the ones with like the eagles and the guns, and it's like MAGA and all this stuff about being Christian. It's just like Britain will have like crazy Christians and Britain will have crazy conservatives, but America just seems to have all of these people are just nutbags with everything crazy rolled into one thing. I'm just like, British people do hate Americans. Don't get like it mistaken. I do laugh when I'm reading on Twitter and Reddit like how much British people hate American people, and I honestly don't blame them because I fucking do. But I hate English people as well, so don't worry too much. Don't feel too offended. And I obviously don't hate all of you guys, but as a general concept, I hate English and American people. Um, yeah, it's very anti-capitalist for sure. Yeah, Jose, it was inspired by largely by like Anonymous and the Egyptian Revolution, because Rami Malek's Egyptian, obviously, and I think Sam Esmail, the creator, is Egyptian too. Like not proper Egyptian, not first gen Egyptian or anything, but Oregon is beautiful. My only exposure to Oregon is from Days Gone on PS4, and it is very nice. Though. I would like to visit. It reminds me of, like The Revenant. I think The Revenant is meant to be set there. I know it was filmed in Argentina. Yeah, Michael. Yeah, I'm apologise for this. If people notice that my videos might have too many ads, basically, some of you might know my brother's a YouTuber. He tells me the more ads you put in a video, the less likely it is to be demonetized. And I try not to put too many in. Like I put the one at the start and I put the one at the end because I know most people aren't going to watch to the end. So I just put it in there anyway. And then I might put one in every 5 minutes. So if I'm talking for like 17 minutes, 20 minutes, I'll have 5 ads overall. But you're not going to see 5 ads probably. You'll see the start one, which you might not even get because you don't always get it, and then you have the three in the middle. You might watch two. You know what I mean? But my brother says you want more in because YouTube obviously wants them to make more money. Not that I'm putting like Jake Paul, Logan Paul, put like one after every minute, but like I try and do like one every 5 minutes, and then sit the one at the start and the end. So yeah, Jose, definitely stick with it. It gets you're not ready for the twists and turns, but it's just so creative as well. I just love it so much. Favorite show. Eli, that was sort of the idea. Like Margaret Thatcher talked about that. That's why socialists sort of hate the EU, because they think it's like a trade union for corporations and just like lets them easily exploit people, move their businesses about. Like no protection of workers really. Let's like make you easy to be exploited by the EU essentially. But obviously, on the other hand, or the other side of the spectrum, socialists believed in unity and getting away with, national borders. You'd think more would agree with, I guess. I spoke to that anarchist at the Trump protest who said he agreed with the EU more than he didn't because he's like it's better to have this bigger capitalist state where more people are unified than like a smaller one, which is interesting. Um, Not Down the House is the best documentary ever. I wouldn't say the best documentary ever, but I liked it. My favourite documentary is the Ken Burns Vietnam War one, but that's super long, but I do really like it. Um, Sorry, I'm really behind on these things. American education system is fucked and there's lots of lead in the water, yeah. Yeah, Jose, the AOC responses, definitely, definitely. Um, there's a reason all the world hate the US. Well, it's great. Well, a lot of the world love the US because of the culture, don't they? We hate British people too. Hey, why do you hate us? English people are okay in small doses. Your bike is a Brit. Oh, nice. Oh, Veronica, that's just interesting. So the making of a conspiracy theory as a prerogative. So what's it all about then? America's a really dumb kid who thinks he's Einstein and can't be convinced otherwise. My brother-in-law's a Brit and he's amazing. Oh, that sounds good. His optimism bothers me. I don't turn to English for optimism. English people aren't generally very optimistic. Joy Division or New Order? Well, since I don't listen to either of them, I know one song from New Order. I'll go for that. Chol, I don't include. Yeah, Chol, I guess I mean I hate white Americans and I hate white English people is the main thing. Which is kind of ironic since I'm half English, but I don't mind. Um, do I take advertisements from Prague EU or the NRA? I don't think so, but I haven't I probably should get on that, but I haven't excluded any channels. I don't think you choose, Kennedy. I think you can exclude some. I'm not too sure though. Praga U is owned by a billionaire Christian fundamentalist. Of course it is. Who else do you think it was owned by? um, School to Dash, sort of, but not particularly. The EU didn't exist. I think the original EU was late 40s, I think, but it didn't get big for ages. Like Britain didn't join until the mid 70s. Let me have a look quick. Well, no, the actual EU wasn't founded until 1993, but there's a precursor one. So 1945 to 57. It was small. I can't find the actual countries in it. In 1957, Belgium, France, Italy, Luxembourg, Netherlands, West Germany signed the Treaty of Rome, which created the European Economic Community. Okay, so that's the original one. And then a lot of them didn't join till later. Like Britain didn't join till the 70s, and loads of socialists didn't want to join either. So Tyler saying the best things about America are the ones under attack by the idiots in our government. The best people in America are the people who literally oppose a lot of the stuff that America's ever done. Would be hilarious to take advertisement for those Kavanaugh's argue. Well, obviously, a lot of the advertisements I get, I probably would disagree with, but I obviously can't see everything that comes up. My friend is making a documentary about maternal mortality rates in America in the black community, Canary filmmaker. How high are they comparatively to white people? What's Canary film? There we go. I'll follow her now. Charles has always been a troll. Yeah, he has. He's got a good heart though. League of Nations is 1920s though, and the US ran away. Stupid Woodrow. Yeah, so Woodrow. It's half a Woodrow. Woodrow. I can't even say it. I'm just gonna say it. President Wilson, having like three W sounding letters in a row. President Wilson, he overruled the League of Nations when they said that there could be racial equality in the League of Nations, and then the US fucked off after he did that, because Japan was like, yeah, like you guys will say like white people are superior, so can we like have a racial equality clause in the League of Nations? And then Britain was like, no, we're not going to vote. France was like, we're not going to vote. All the other countries like, yeah, go for it. You can be equal to us. And then the US just came in. Like Wilson was like, nah, you lot aren't. You're not equal. And then the US just left. Great. As Veronica saying, the idea is for people to dismiss ideas without considering them, and that's what's achieved. I call them conspiracy theories. Started with all the questions about Kennedy's murder. Is that the original case that started the phrase? That's interesting. Chol, the Americans have always funded the IRA since the start, because Irish Americans who are 10 generations down or whatever, they still think they're Irish. I'm not saying they're not, but they get too patriotic about it. It's like in Boardwalk Empire when Nucky's giving them all like Tommy guns. All right. Let's see. How long have I been streaming this? Let's go for another. Let's see how it goes. Like a couple more minutes. In Boston and the Bronx. Yeah, I'm not honestly super surprised by that. Because, yeah, obviously, super Irish areas, fundamentalist terrorism stuff. Alright, so, what's the time now? I got to write a bit of this article tonight. We'll see. Did I get that job I was applying for? Which one? The one I really wanted, I got to the third interview. I was the last three people. This might be the one you're thinking of. I got to the last three people, and then I didn't get it, which sucks. So now, this month, I had an interview on Monday, but I've just been super burnt out about job stuff, and I was super up for it at the start of June. I was like, yeah, I'm going to get a job, I'm going to start working full time. But now I've had like 13, 14 interviews since the start of June, and I'm just like, fuck's sake, like, it's just, I'm not getting this, and I'm just thinking about some of these interviews I've gone from. Like, I know I can't be that picky, and I'm not really that picky, but I've become way more cynical as I've gone through this process. Because, I know I'm a smart person and I'm capable, and I have the education to get these jobs and stuff, but I'm missing out for some reason, and, because I get to certain stages in certain interviews, I know it's not because I'm like a bad person or I come across really badly, otherwise I wouldn't be getting to like the later stages. But there's just something at the end, somehow, that I'm not getting it, which is annoying. I don't know exactly if anything could help me. But yeah, why I haven't had a job, my portfolio's built quite nicely the last 6 months in terms of written stuff. I actually wrote something for the British Communist Party this week, which was funny. So we're going to see how it goes. Like, I applied for this job. It's quite annoying. I know I'm not going to get it. It's literally writing articles about the Middle East, like Middle Eastern politics. Something I'm super knowledgeable and good at. And I just know I'm not going to get it. And I'm like, I would be so good at this job. And it's annoying that I can't get it because I'd love to do it as well. So, sorry. So yeah, if that answers your question, Olivia. Jose saying, yeah, oftentimes the jobs you end up with don't expect the call. Keep trying, you can score something. It was the one job bit back in July, the third round of the interview. I really wanted that, but I think that really burnt me because I just like couldn't believe I was so close to something I wanted so bad and I didn't get it. So, you should talk more about your writing on here. Yeah, Kennedy, I would, and I should probably get back into writing, like, articles to do with the stuff I talk about on here a bit more. But the problem is, the articles that I write are British politics, and I don't think anyone would be that interested in a lot of them. Like, if I just flick up my portfolio quick, to have a look at the types of stuff I write, I can assure you guys won't be that interested. Not any fault of your own. You're all smart people and stuff. It's just super boring stuff in terms of British politics. Oh shit, this is my old one. So it's like something I wrote for the Communist Party about the Home Office being racist to African academics. So the African academics want a travel visa to come to the UK to attend conferences, but the Home Office won't give it to them because they think because they're African, essentially, they must come from a poor country. They're just going to come into England, run off, and stay as illegal immigrants. Because when you're an academic, the first thing you want to do is come to England, give up your entire job and profession and your whole credibility so you can live in poverty in this country. Do you know what I mean? Like, but it's obviously a racial stereotype of, African people or people from African countries. So it's sort of interesting, but do Americans really care about the British Home Office? You know what I mean? It's not super interesting. Or like the government changing renting laws which help fuel racist housing discrimination, or Brexit hurting the music industry. Like, it's not super interesting to Americans, which is fine. British politics I find is more boring anyway. But yeah, I could link it, but like I say, I've said what I've done. Matt, what do you mean? Are you suspending this and my SM? What's my SM? Um, the stuff is checked here in the US. Oh, social media. No, I actually put my YouTube on my CV. And the funny thing is, while you guys might think that's a bad idea, the jobs that I've done best at in terms of the interview process speak about the YouTube stuff the most. I've had one job which came back and said to me that because of my YouTube, they can't hire me. But they knew about they'd watched my YouTube and they liked it, and then they watched them more and they said they couldn't hire me because of my political views and stuff, which is whatever. But I was pissed off because I was like, you should have known that before you gave me the interview, because you just wasted my fucking time. But yeah, generally it helps. And social media, I started giving a shit. I used to private both of them, but now I'm like, fucking whatever. If you want to go for my social media, I'm not I'm not going to work for like, the government or anything. So I don't really give a shit. The thing, my rule is that's why my Reddit account is pretty easy to find, because my rule is anything I write online, I would either be happy to say in person or I would be happy to explain it in person. That's my rule online, because you don't, even though it might be embarrassing, I just don't want to be caught out where one day someone comes and says like, oh, look at this guy, he wrote this and this and this, and then obviously it looks really bad because I wrote a lot of shit online. To be honest, I'm always myself for the most part, so I don't normally write controversial shit. There's some things, like that's what I was talking about with Kennedy, about the IRA stuff. It can be quite tricky. Do you know what I mean? Like that's more sensitive. If I write, yeah, for example, I'm not saying I agree with this. Yeah, I'm glad the IRA killed this many British civilians. You know what I mean? Like it can be taken out of context, and because of that issue only ended 21 years ago, it's like not something I'd be writing on social media all the time, even if I had quite strong opinions on it. Even though I do write about the IRA and stuff online, but like, there's some stuff I guess I wouldn't write. But yeah, I try to keep everything I say online and I write online something I would say anyway. So if I am linking my YouTube, if someone found my Reddit account or my Twitter account, it's not going to be like they've just looked at a whole new person or a whole new world and they can just like use it to justify not giving me a job or firing me in the future or something like that. Um, how's it saying? Do I have the same interest for Do I lack the interest for British politics I do for American? Or I like both of them. I guess the American politics is more a hobby. British politics is more important. And I would say I like following American politics. I don't like following British politics because it fucking depresses me. But it's obviously important to my life, so I got it. American's more a choice, isn't it? Because while America does affect me and everything, it's just not as important as my own country, obviously. So, uh, yeah, but Kennedy, all this stuff is just, it's not even like, it's not like you don't care about the issues, but I think local English politics is just not the most exciting thing. I don't know why. Um, Greeks were incredibly, yeah, I can't really speak properly. Greeks were incredibly progressive on sexuality, not perfect. Yeah, so I always despair. Like I'm playing. I was just fucking around on Assassin's Creed Origins the other day, and I'm looking at this stuff, and I'm like, obviously the society isn't perfect, but can you imagine how not how great, but how much better humans would be if we progressed from like what, 300 and something BCE Athens, or like some parts of Egypt or Alexandria and stuff. If we just progress from that to now without Christianity, do you know what I mean? Like, I can make a whole video about Abrahamic religion taking us back and stuff, but like, it's crazy how we took over nearly 2,000 years to get from one and come back to the other. Because when you read about the ancient Greeks, you're like, this is literally the foundation of modern humanity. The stuff is so similar. Like, even stuff like funerals and burials and tombstones and stuff. I'm like, this is like a Greek thing. I never knew about this. Like, I never knew this is where it came from. There's so many things like that, and like obviously so many words. It's actually pretty amazing and depressing that the Romans, fuck you, and the Romans adopted Christianity, just ruined everything, plunged humanity back. Well, Dark Ages, obviously called Dark Ages for a reason, and I always find it funny when the Christian world was having its Dark Ages. Doesn't mean the Muslim world wasn't. The Muslims, Ben Shapiro likes to talk about how superior the West is. Newsflash, the guys who translated a lot of the Greek work, like Aristotle, for example, was like lost to the West until a Spanish priest went over the border in Iberia and took some Aristotle in Arabic and translated it into, I don't know what language it was, maybe Castilian or maybe probably Latin. And it's like the Muslims were doing this too. It's not just the Western people. But obviously, people like Ben Shapiro, Sam Harris, their view of history is so Western centric. I guess it's pretty much also white supremacists in a way. Like, white people invented everything good. So, like I'm saying, although Greeks did have a big part in our Western society, I think people like them two trump it up so much like nothing else ever happened. Like Cyrus the Great was like the king of Babylon, invented human rights. We don't ever talk about him. So it's just an interesting thing. But yeah, depressing as well. Basically, fuck Christianity and fuck religion. Put that on my CV. See how well it goes. But also talking about CV stuff, Matt was saying, I think the best thing about the job interviews I've gone to, most people who've interviewed me generally seem sympathetic to like leftist politics. That's probably a London thing though. Like, I never feel wrong for my YouTube or my articles. Like, I never feel like I'm being judged or I'm gonna get turned down for my political stance, which is pretty good. Obviously, if I lived in America, I reckon I'd be turned down by everyone because even centrists would hate me. But yeah, it is an interesting difference. So Tyler's also looking for a job. Yeah, Tyler, I feel that, man. Everyone needs 4 years experience. Exactly. Like, I see a job and I'm like, nodding my head. I'm like, oh, this is not something I could do. And it's like 5 years experience. I'm like, where the hell are you getting these people? I could work for the Hill Cav. I'd love to work for anyone who'd hire me to write about politics, but it's just so hard without a journalism degree. But every time I get interviewed by an outlet, the person who interviewed me doesn't have a journalism degree because we talk about. I'm like, oh, do you have a journalism degree? Like, no, I have a degree in like history or something, and then I don't get the job because I don't have a journalism degree, chosen by the person who didn't have it. It's just annoying. I despair at the capitalist job market. It's actually so depressing. And like, especially with writing jobs, you're either writing like articles and stuff like that, or you're writing for marketing or some bullshit like that. It's just so not something I ever want to do. Does the UK have its own version of Antifa? Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think we've ever really needed it. Unless anyone knows, the new season of Peaky Blinders is going to have about British fascists in the 1930s, which I'm not too familiar with that too much. I don't know if there's anti-fascism back then. Bill O'Reilly visited Ireland last week and tweeted a picture of himself in the border country of Cavan, where the O'Reilly clan historically ruled in ancient Irish kingdom of East Brent, or whatever the fuck that says. While getting in touch with his roots, Bill O'Reilly claimed that his Irish ancestors came to the US legally and that their persecution exempts them from white privilege. The thing is with white people and Irish people, like, you can. The thing is, even if you're Jewish, who actually still face way more discrimination than Irish people and oppression in general, you can have white privilege. If you have white skin, you can have white privilege. It doesn't matter what your background is. Like, I talk about being Irish and stuff or whatever, and I talk about how the English treated the Irish. Doesn't mean you can't have white privilege still. Like, no one knows I'm Irish by looking at me. And, white privilege doesn't always have to be some sort of conversation. Like, white privilege can be like someone not mugging you, someone leaving you alone just by looking at you, someone not, whatever benefit you can get just being a general white person in society. It doesn't have to be anything verbal. Are the Labour Party fascist? No. Complete opposite. Labour Party were literally made by a miner and is basically made in, mining unions and stuff. Tyler, my dream job would be do YouTube, do freelance enough where altogether I could make at least 20k a year, £20,000 a year, just to start with. That would be the dream at the moment. But it's crap at the moment. I'd probably make at the moment for about 2,000 a year. Not that I have a full-time job. Like, it's okay for a side hustle and stuff, but proper job. But yeah, I don't want to commute to London every day. It's soul destroying. 8 hours at the job and then 3 hours plus commuting. I know everyone has to do it. It doesn't mean you have to fucking like it or you can't moan about it. Olivia saying, at the Tommy Robinson protest, British Antifa came out. Right, 200 of them in black together. That's interesting. I don't know. Yeah, there probably is British Antifa, but maybe because the British Labour Party do occupy a lot of the Marxist movement. Like, they've kind of neutered the socialist or the traditional socialist movement because they fulfilled a lot of the needs traditionally, not since Tony Blair, of what Marxists would want, like enough to appease them. So Tyler's saying, I actually really do enjoy the law from an intellectual standpoint, but the work culture scares me. Yeah, that would... that's for anything, really. Because I do, obviously my master's in political science, international relations, so they want you to work as an analyst and stuff. I don't want to do that, but obviously you're working in law, so that's just a super hard, stressful job. Matt saying there's some online things for research positions, like a paralegal or legal tech. Yeah, I've seen some stuff like that actually when I've been looking on Indeed. So Eli saying the Hill is weird, their YouTube is progressive while their site is centrist. Proves they're really in it for the money, but they know the YouTube fan base is progressive. Do I have an opinion on the Hong Kong protests? Obviously, I super respect what they're doing, but I feel bad for them because I think it's ultimately going to be futile because in the next 20, 30 years, China is going to be the dominant superpower on the globe. If China just decides to invade Hong Kong or Taiwan, for example, as well, what are the US going to do? Start World War III over Hong Kong? I don't think so. And that's the sad reality of what's going to happen. And it's sad to see because the thing is, we like to say the West sells itself for oil. They're selling their souls to China for its economy, whether that's the labour or whether it's the cheap access or the massive market. The video game industry is recently targeting China. They're all going to turn a blind eye to this stuff. Hong Kong and Taiwan are both going to be crushed one day. Sadly, it's just going to happen. China's not going to stop until it has both of them. The different systems they govern themselves under it was only to exist until they got powerful enough. They have plans to invade Taiwan. They're just trying to make them shorter so they can invade Taiwan before the US gets its fleet to Taiwan. That's the big thing for them. Hong Kong's way easier because Hong Kong doesn't have its own military. So yeah, it's a sad reality, but I super respect the hell out of the protests because, like I was saying earlier about the civil disobedience, that's like a life and death thing. Yeah, that's the expiration date, but I don't think that's. I think it's 2040, but I don't think they're going to wait for that. If I'm honest. Um, but I made a video about how Taiwan could cause World War III, and that just depends on the US response to it. Taiwan will obviously fight back against China. It has its own military and it's pretty good, but it's just so much smaller. It ultimately won't be able to hold off, which is sad. And yeah, obviously depressing. Um, yeah, Tyler, exactly, because the work and life balance is so important, and like sometimes when I'm at these job interviews, I'm like, do I really want to do this? I know I'm in a privileged position where I don't have to just go work in McDonald's or go down to my local supermarket and get a job and stuff, and I can look for positions I want and spend a lot of time looking for it. But at the same time, yeah, I'd love to like my little brother is fucking idiot YouTuber. Joking, Piers, if you're listening, like I'm jealous of him because he's just doing YouTube and stuff. That would be sick. But just yeah, like I said, eking like 20,000 like sounds like a bit, but it's not a lot, especially where I live. That's just would be okay with me. And like I recently applied to do this work for another like online personality. I forgot the name exactly, but it was like 6,000 a year, £6,000, and I'd be happy not. But that like something like that with some other things, it was like 40 hours a week, and I know I could do the work quicker than that because I'm quick at working. I don't think I'm gonna get it because I haven't heard back anything, but I knew I would be a good candidate for that as well. Um, so Tyler saying I went to Wake Forest. I have actually think I found an online position 30 to 45 hours to write a legal textbook. If I get that, I'll do that and coach the college team for hockey and make another 10, 15. Oh, that's nice actually. That's something I'd like to do. Like in terms of like having something stable at home and doing something on the side. Um, Lawrence saying I think one should fact check Sargon because he will lie about even his own name. When he tried to lie about the Holocaust to who's that guy who follows me? Shit, I forgot his name. The British guy, Kevin Logan, and he just like corrected him, and then he was like, I have to go check my notes or something. Oh, nice, Tyler. So I hope it works out then. That sounds like something good. Um, I worry about Hong Kong and Taiwan. Yeah, whoever thinks China is leftist is crazy. Like I always think Karl Marx would hate the Soviet Union. Not saying he'd love America, but he'd hate the Soviet Union and he'd also hate China. What is socialist about a bunch of wealthy elites hoarding all the power for themselves? Do you know what I mean? That's not socialism. And I don't understand the like. I can understand making the argument somewhere like Cuba or Vietnam is better off today than it was under capitalism. That's like a legit argument you can make with me if you want. But don't make the argument that somehow like China is socialist. It's state capitalist with some socialist elements. It's also authoritarian dystopia as well. um, yeah, the US would have a better chance. Hong Kong's like linked to China. I think it is linked, isn't it? The mainland is linked to Hong Kong. Yeah, the Chinese border's on the doorstep. Oh no! Why are you dropping out, Kennedy? Actually, how far are you in? Are you into college? I think it's the big one. But yeah, I'm sad to hear that. But if it's what's best for you. Yeah, Sleeping Dogs. That's a good game. Is a sophomore first year, or is a sophomore last year? Yeah, I do like Sleeping Dogs. Wei Shen, second year. So when when would you finish second year? Well, I guess I can't tell you what to do. If it's shit for your mental health and job prospects, I'd get out, I guess. I'd always just believe in getting it because if you're in to a certain extent, you just might as well go all the way. And I always like learning, is another one. Like, I'm looking for jobs now outside of things I'm educated in, but I really wouldn't take back my degree or my master's despite the big debt I had. I know your debt will be a lot more than mine though. I think mine's 40k. And I don't know if I have to, well, we'll see if I ever have to pay it back. But you like learning? Yeah, you don't need college for that. I'm just saying. I always liked it. It is hard. You know, you're right about the history thing. As someone who has a history degree, well, it would be good to get you a job and stuff. It's just not necessarily getting you a job in history stuff or politics. You never know really. You're already 40k in debt. Yeah, how much more would you go in debt if you stayed and finished? So why are people afraid of socialism? It's the fear of big government taking over everything, then they should be hating the previous heads of state and not the ideology itself. Well, it's just like people's understanding of socialist countries or countries that say are socialist and what they did in the Cold War, I guess. But if you're an idiot, you just don't research stuff for yourself. Or of course, you're brainwashed by Western media, and that's not everyone's fault. Everyone gets brainwashed by it at some point. Um, More difficult to out when you leave. That's why I just did my master's straight after undergrad. I was like, nah, I ain't going back. I'm getting it all done in one go. um, yeah, Eli, like Jackie Chan, has a massive audience in China. He's obviously not going to say the Chinese government should stop. Michael, it's because people believe, like, even a lot of people who are just anti-Israel and pro-Palestine, they believe the Jews are so powerful, they must have concocted the Holocaust just so they could have an excuse to create Israel. Basically, that's what they think. Join the Royal Marines caveat. Fuck that. Never ever join the military ever. Are you in the military, Milk Road? uh, Oh, okay, Kennedy. Yeah, whatever's best for you. If you feel like it's not worth it, definitely don't go through with it. It's not the end of the world. A degree is it is forever, but if you honestly think it's the cost is not worth it for in terms of improving your job prospects, you know. Wait, I asked you today, why haven't we been invaded? What, America? Would you ever fight for the government? No, never. There has never been a war outside of World War Two, in my opinion, in the last couple hundred years for the British Empire or for Britain that has been justified, in my opinion. World War Two has been the only one. I can't think of any other war Britain's fought in that's been justified. Maybe Napoleonic war against Spain, possibly, but at the same time, we like to phrase it as, for example, the Spanish Armada. We like to phrase it, oh, we'd all be speaking Spanish if Spain invaded. No, what would happen is they'd come in, kill the king, put in an English Catholic, leave. That's what always happened. It's like when they wanted to get rid of James II, they're like, all right, you get out. We're going to bring a king in from Holland. He's the new king of England. Doesn't mean we're all speaking Dutch. So the way we phrase it is different. Like with Napoleon as well, well, Napoleon's different. Okay, maybe we'll go for Napoleonic War and World War Two. They're the only two wars that were ever justified by the British Empire and England, I guess. Otherwise, fuck no, I'm never fighting for the military. That's how they got what World War One to happen. Literally sent 800. My mind just like blows up. How could 20,000 people die in 1 hour at the Somme? Like my mind explodes thinking of that. I like can't even. 800,000 British people died in World War One. That soldiers, mental. Like how could you imagine how strong the propaganda and elite controllers? You can get 800,000 young men to go off and get slaughtered, fighting like what's it, a couple hundred miles away in France, for what? Literally to protect the British Empire, protect the wealth of the elites in your country. It's so fucked. So yeah, I'm always gonna be skeptical of the military and hopefully never ever join. A degree really is just to prove you can work at something for a couple of years. That's literally all they want. Especially degrees at like history at times where you're not even going to go into a job that's anything to do with history. Well, yeah, Jose, you answer your question. You're the bully of the world stage. Who's going to invade you? Did I play the Frozen Wilds? Yeah, Milk Road. I liked it. When did I complete that? A couple months ago. Those snapping turtle things were hard though, especially when there's two of them at the same time. Horizon is a hard game. If you don't use those potions, you're so fucked in it. I really like it though. I'm looking forward to the second one, whenever that comes out. So Chol is looking at what's that? MPhil? Is it philosophy? Oh no, MPhil. So it's some sort of political science and American history at Cambridge. Yeah, go for it if you want. It's super brutal though. My friend did history at Cambridge. It's equivalent. You know, if you get a degree from Cambridge, it's a master's as well, which I didn't know until he told me. Jose, they were probably completely scared out of their mind. I doubt they were thinking about glory for the empire. Like at that moment, like it was insane peer pressure. You would sign up like Americans in the chat, if you don't know much about World War One in Britain, you got to research it. It's crazy. Literally, to make you sign up, you'd sign up with your whole town, and you'd all go over there together, and that's how like whole male populations of towns would just get wiped out because they'd all die because you'd go into the same like battalion or whatever with like you'd have like brothers and cousins. You'd all go in together. So a show like Peaky Blinders, the reason they're all in the military, like, and they all know each other, is because they all fought together in the same units and stuff. That's how the whole gang, even the people who's like the brothers, like John, Tommy, who's the other one, Arthur. They all fought together because that they let you. But then everyone else in their town, like they know everyone else in the gang, they also fought in the war with them. And that's mental. Imagine just like all your friends joining the military together, and then you go fight in a battle where 20,000 people die in 1 hour. Imagine how devastating that is for parts of the country. Like I guess America's such a big country, but I know where I live. There's about I'd say 6 war memorials, and most of them heavily have World War One casualties, and they're everywhere. I'm thinking in my head, I'm at my girlfriend's now. This isn't my house, and there's one over there. There's one in the town or the part of London I live in. There's a couple more like 5 minutes down the road. There's so many. It's crazy. Like I get so angry thinking about it. And when you watch something like, I don't know how many of you watch Peter Jackson's They Shall Not Grow Old, which is amazing. It makes you so angry just watching that. Like the way these people were just made to go fight in this thing, and then especially when they have the talking about their experiences with the German prisoners and how similar they were. It really makes you angry thinking about how you could make people do this to each other for literally no reason. Like World War One was so avoidable in like every way. Avoidable if they wanted it to be avoidable. Oh, that's interesting. You're from Gettysburg. You still get the bullets in the battlefield. So Eli's saying, one thing I love about the UK is that they don't teach to be patriotic in school, and they don't promote military service like in the US in school. Yeah, exactly, Eli. The good thing, I don't know if it's a recent thing, I'm not old enough to remember, but school teaching it's not apolitical. Nothing's really apolitical, but it's not promoting the UK, for example. Like I've spoke about how I don't agree with, your first exposure to Marxism in school is learn about Stalin's Russia. I don't think it's obviously set up in a way, maybe by accident, to teach you a certain narrative. But in terms of things like war, you're never taught about World War One being good. It's like literally one of the topics you learn about is called Lions Led by Donkeys, where you speak about brave men being sent to die by the donkeys, by the generals who are all concerned with glory. That's literally what you learn about when you're 13 and 14. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's probably a bit different from the US, to be honest. Yeah, but Olivia, the Chinese and Indian military is nothing compared to the US. It's like the Israeli military. Israeli military is super dominant. It's pretty small, but it could it's like the Arab-Israeli war, Yom Kippur war. It wins every time against the Arabs because it's so much better trained and better equipped. So numbers aren't everything. I'm getting on Mario Kart Smash Brothers. Where's my Switch? I have both, but I've been playing Crash, Team Racing, and Resident Evil 4 on the Switch lately. Um, what else we got? Yeah, the Powers Battalions are so dumb. It wiped out the towns. Well, it's not dumb because it obviously made people way more comfortable to sign up, but obviously it is dumb in terms of like destroying the country. But no one knew it was going to be that bad. Like they all thought it. Like I know it's a bit of a stereotype, like over by Christmas and stuff, but yeah, shell shock, Jose, which is mental. Well, it's not as black and white as that. Like you can read books, um, like Wilfred Owen and like Siegfried Sassoon are two war poets who had like mental breakdowns. Wilfred Owen obviously died before the end of the war, but then they got treated for their mental problems. But a lot of people did get executed for PTSD. Um, yeah, Kennedy, I'm not soft on it because I really like violence, like in terms of movies, and I've always loved war, but it makes me really angry, is the main problem. Yeah, Michael, my great my great great granddad fought in the Boer War, and it basically killed him before he was 50, like the after effects. And then my great granddad fought in World War One and got his bottom of his mouth shot off. So he had to have like one of the first couple soldiers to get like plastic surgery and stuff, or facial reconstruction surgery and something like that. Um, yeah, World War One was super brutal. The young die and the old give orders. Yeah, exactly. Actually, I was watching The Lost City of Z. I don't know if anyone's seen that movie with Charlie Hunnam and Robert Pattinson, and it's about this explorer who explores like the Amazon and stuff. And it's just crazy. Like during his exploration, he literally has to just go back and fight in World War One, and then he survives, and then he goes back to the jungle, and then I won't spoil the ending, but crazy this generation. There's also cool people like we had a prime minister called Anthony Eden. He's pretty like looked down upon now because of the Suez Crisis in 1956. But he was like the youngest officer in World War One. He literally fought through the whole World War One, 4 years, some of the worst battles, and then he became foreign secretary in the 30s, and he met with like Mussolini, Hitler, Franco, Stalin, like, all these people, historic people, and then he was in the cabinet during the war, and then he became prime minister after the war. I love stuff like that. It's so crazy. Like this one guy was at the center of all this history. I know we don't like him in this country now, but at the same time, I always find it super interesting. A guy like that, just you know, youngest guy officer in World War One, fight throughout the whole war, meet some of the most notorious people of human history, like Stalin and Hitler. Like you're sitting down for like tea while you're like discussing like your relations between the countries, and then you're in the war cabinet for the biggest war of all time, and then you become prime minister during the Cold War. Crazy. Obviously, Tory politician and all that, but still interesting. Kennedy, isn't Animal Farm? Is it written by George Orwell? Or am I remembering that wrong? Because it is. Because I think I don't think it's anti-socialist, but it's like what I was saying. George Orwell hated Stalin, and Animal Farm is about Lenin dying and Stalin taking over. Because Napoleon in Animal Farm, like the honourable pig at the start, that's meant to be Lenin, and I don't know what the other one's called, but it's meant to be Stalin, the one who takes over. So it's meant to be about Stalin's Russia essentially, rather than being anti-socialist. Because George Orwell was, which I love for people, the right love to talk about 1984. George Orwell wrote that. Do you know what I mean? He's not, he's talking about people like you. He's not talking about like Antifa. Um, Tyler says he's confused on what to believe in communism in the USSR. The USSR, Tyler, I think you can extract good bits from the USSR because they obviously have different stages. Like 60s and early 70s USSR wasn't a bad place to live if you were Russian, for example. It wasn't a bad place to live. Capitalist Russia in the 90s was so much worse than the USSR. Obviously, it's just I think what people forget when we talk about these countries is that a country like Russia, it's literally Lenin and people like that. They're literally putting such a massive shift on this country, like a backwards Eastern European country that is so poor, and you're trying to like change all this stuff in it. It depends what your conditions for success are, because a lot of these killings by Stalin obviously not justified. A lot of these other deaths are from famines that would have happened anyway. Sometimes they are made worse by socialist, not socialist, but like Stalinist or Maoist policies, especially in Mao's case, because he was just didn't understand like economics. Essentially, he was an idiot in that regard. So it's a different one. Like most people in the USSR could could read and write after it had been founded for many years. Most people before couldn't. Do you know what I mean? It depends what you measure success on. They had generally had a good education. Women also got education. Do you know what I mean? I don't. Sometimes we like to, if something contains deaths, we like to immediately throw it out. I think it's like, oh, Che Guevara killed so many people. I know there's been loads of stuff debunking that he wasn't like a tyrant or anything, but I guess it's maybe just to throw people off. It's like, how much does capitalism kill? In America, 30,000 people a year die without health insurance. That is just health insurance. And you're trying to tell me, that Che Guevara was evil because in tribunals which he oversaw punishing collaborators with Baptista, he sentenced them to death, but 30,000 people die from not having health insurance in America every year, and that's just how the system's designed. That's good, Eli. When you were taught geography, they just taught you that the oil companies control the news. Yeah, Milk Road, the Civil War is crazy, isn't it? Like 700,000 deaths. So mental. That's so brutal. Uh, yeah, Olivia, that's fine. You don't need to know too much about it. I guess 1848 and the revolutions after is probably a better point to start than Stalin. So, oh, okay. Well, it's interesting how politicised the school system is. And you read Ayn Rand. That is so damaging, I think, for young people to read that. Like, because obviously when you're young, your critical thinking just doesn't work a lot of the time. We learn about the importance of unions. I wish I learned about that. We don't learn about that stuff, but we don't really do politics. We didn't really do politics in school. Sorry, I'm just reading the comments. Some animals more equal than others, yeah. Sometimes I daydream about the USSR. Have you watched The Americans? You might like that. It's about Soviet spies in America, but the two characters, obviously, they're pretty homesick about the USSR, which is interesting, even though they live in America. They like fucking despise America. Or the wife really hates America. The dad kind of gets seduces a bit. Seduced by it a bit. Yeah, exactly. By the way, everyone should read it, even though it's boring. I want to see Russia. Orwell said that all art is propaganda. That's interesting. I wouldn't say that really, though. As a socialist, that seems like a weird statement. Harlem Hell fighters, World War One. That's like in Battlefield One. You get to play as them at the start. The only the only good American is a rich American. That's the only, not the only bad, but that's the main bad Americans. Yeah, but Jose, the way you're phrasing that, they're not meant to be. That's Burkow doing his job. It's not him taking a stance. You're not allowed to dissolve Parliament for that stuff. Burkow's conservative anyway. Yeah, the stuff Johnson's talking about closing down Parliament is like, we don't have a constitution, but you can imagine it's sort of unconstitutional. That realms of like crazy. It's not on. It's not him taking a side. It's him just being like, it's basically like following the law essentially. Hi Ishmael. Unions are important. I think the term of propaganda, I don't know. I always thought propaganda more meant to show one side, to trick people into coming to your side without like giving a nuanced discussion. I don't know. I know it's probably like a Latin or Greek word that means something not like that, but how's my day been? It's okay. Oh, I just got so many articles to write. I can't be bothered. I should have ended this stream like an hour ago because I need to get started. Has anyone tried spicy chicken nuggets? I tried them today. They're too spicy. I mean, like they're too spicy that it ruins the taste. Is the problem? Um, I had one history teacher who did a lesson on how Thatcher got rid of the unions as a good thing, even though it wasn't on the curriculum. What the hell? I had just had the spicy chicken nuggets. No, from McDonald's. No, they weren't too spicy. They were too spicy in terms of it just tasted like spice, which wasn't good. I'd rather it taste like the chicken nuggets. Here, wait. Kennedy, you can link your podcast, but if you can't, I'll do it for you. I'll do it. Because it might get stuck in the spam folder. Olivia, here it is. The podcast. I think that's it. Oh, that's the Patreon. I hope that's okay. Yeah, I linked it. Sorry, I'm missing some stuff. Can't have the spice. I'm pretty good, to be honest. Did I have it with ketchup on it? I had it with barbecue sauce a bit, and I had some chips with it. It was okay. Well, they said they gave you spicy ketchup with it, and they didn't give me any. But I'm not a big fan of ketchup anyway, so it's fine. No, it's no problem, Kenny. But yeah, it was okay. Not so bad. All right. I'm trying to go to bed in 45 minutes, so I gotta start writing one of his articles. So I got two for Wednesday. Uh, but the spicy ketchup is really hot. Okay, yeah, I'm not a big fan of ketchup. So I think on the McDonald's McNuggets discussion, I'll leave it there. But yeah, it's been I had a two week break. Chips is in fries, I guess, French fries, chips. So by the way, saying you dumb, we should pay workers more. Me, who's taking econ, you see this line meets that line. That's where the poor should start. Yeah, so I'll leave it for now. I'm not sure what videos we're doing this week. I might make a review Once Upon a Time in Hollywood because it only just came out this week in England. I saw it tonight. I really liked it, but at the same time, it's not very political, and I don't think many people watch it. So we'll see. I need to think of some stuff to do this week. I've kind of been slacking on the videos lately. New practice video episode tomorrow. Yeah, I need to catch up on some of these. I haven't been listening to as many last couple of weeks. I've just been so busy on my weekends. And I've been focusing on like soccer and shit lately. Just haven't had much time to do much. But yeah, try and catch up on that. Try and make some good new videos. Thanks everyone for joining. Thanks to the new faces as well. Loads of new people today. I think I've got like 200 new subs and I haven't live streamed in over 2 weeks. I think that's a difference. Jose, the Warren stuff will take too long at the moment. Maybe on the back burner. We'll wait until the candidates narrow down, and then I'll see about that. I honestly ain't got many ideas this week. I think I might. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna talk about how Chelsea Clinton and Nancy Pelosi, how they threw Ilhan Omar under the bus, and how it's basically paved the way for the right wing attacks, death threats, all this crap. It's like white liberal women throwing a leftist African woman under the bus. So there we go. One to look forward to. But yeah, that's everything for tonight. Yeah, thank you everyone for joining. Thanks everyone for liking the video for once. This is strange. Got 31 likes. And yeah, I appreciate everyone coming. I appreciate the comments. All been pretty fun. And yeah, I'm going to try and start doing this again every Sunday because I've been slacking lately because I've just been busy on my Sundays. But yeah, thanks Ishmael. So thank you everyone for joining. And yeah, hope everyone has a good week. Hopefully we'll do this next Sunday. Yeah, stay hydrated. Yeah, I haven't been doing them lately, but yeah, I thank everyone for the support. Thanks to the regulars, thanks to new people, and hopefully we will see everyone next week. So until then,